Do you know there is an attraction at Universal Studios in Hollywood that Jim Carrey once hijacked? Find out what it is on today's Annual Pass. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Annual Pass. This is the podcast where we talk about all things theme parks, rides, shows, attractions. If it happens in a theme park, it happens here on Annual Pass. I'm your host, Jack Pattillo, and of course, joining me as always is my lovely, talented, beautiful co-host, BK. Hi, Beaks.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm excited. We got a fun one today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite attractions of all time.
Favorite of all time?
Yeah. It's out in California. We'll get into that in a bit. But hey, don't forget, follow us on all the social media platforms. We are annual_pass over on Twitter and on Instagram. We're Annual Pass Pod over on TikTok, and we are at youtube.com/annual pass as well if you want to see our pretty faces and also like pictures and stuff that go along with the the video portion. This is an audio podcast, but we still every now and then we'll maybe reference a video or like a still or something like that. And and that's the easiest place to go. Also, we have a bunch of cool videos, like small form videos on our TikTok channel, also like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. Bunch of neat stuff out there. I'm really happy to see all that stuff getting out there and spreading the word. And there's a lot of little bite-sized nuggets of Annual Pass that you can share with your friends. So check those out as well. Man, this is episode 97, or we've recorded 97 of these. I don't know. I don't know when this is coming out, but we are rapidly approaching 100 episodes of Annual Pass.
We got to do something special.
I don't know what would be the 100th edition, the centennial episode.
I don't know.
Of Annual Pass.
I believe this is the 96th episode.
96.
I will confirm that.
I'm pretty sure the last one was 96. Ben Lexa over there getting your numbers wrong. Just say anyway. That's
Crunch
the whole thing. Crunch 'em. We talking about Matilda now?
Oh, sorry, maybe.
Where are we going with that? Anyway, today's episode. Also store.roosterteeth.com. Make sure to grab some merchandise. Store.roosterteeth.com. We've got some good stuff up there. We have our new little mini backpacks. They're coming mid-February. I think February 16th. Those hit the store. So I don't know if they're already out or if they are coming out soon, depending on when this episode hits. But yeah, also don't forget shirts. We've got the fanny pack as well, the hip bag, whatever you want to call it. And
hip bag. It's a fanny pack.
But I don't know if you can sell it as a fanny pack in England. Is all I'm saying. It could be. See? Yeah, just anyway, that's a whole thing. Store.roosterteeth.com. Grab some Annual Pass merchandise because that directly supports Annual Pass and can keep us going. And, you're going to fund our trip out to California, go to Super Nintendo World. So please make that happen.
I want to see Princess Peach.
Jack, according to my very high-tech Excel spreadsheet I have here, this is episode 96.
What?
And it's going to come out February 15th, the morning, the same day as our live stream that's happening over on youtube.com/annual pass and Rooster Teeth for anyone that wants to tune in.
Really?
12 p.m. Central.
Oh, no. Me and Ben Lexa about to throw down here.
when the Alexa doesn't listen.
Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, totally. I don't know how that happened.
Do not question me, Ben Lexa!
Ben Lexa knows all.
I know numbers.
You do know numbers. All right. Well, anyway, whatever episode this is, maybe we'll bank this one. Who knows? Whatever's
now
gonna
it's
happen.
whatever episode.
Numbers are a whole thing. Today on Annual Pass, I am very excited to tell you and to talk with you about the Universal Studios Backlot Tour. So this is when you say Backlot Tour, this is the granddaddy of them all. This one's been around forever. So Universal Studios opened up in the early 1900s, I believe.
God, don't say that.
Yeah.
That sounds like eons ago.
It's been, you say eons ago?
Eons. I said eons.
Eons ago. Centuries ago. Decades
Millennia.
ago. So Universal Studios obviously is it's a production facility. The backlot is essentially where like you would dress up sets and have them where you can shoot different movies and films. A lot of old westerns use the exact same sets over and over again, is shot from different angles to make them feel like different movies and whatnot.
Really?
Yeah, and so a backlot is basically where you would put, that's kind of like a big open area where you have sets that just kind of live there forever.
Okay.
Probably the most common backlot people think about now when you think about backlot is I think it's called Town Hall Square or something along those lines, which is where the Back to the Future clock tower is. So that still exists.
Really?
And that clock tower has been in hundreds of commercials, movies, TV shows, dressed as different things to make it feel like it's a different place. But it's just been there. That little square, the little park in front of the building has been used in so many different things. Sometimes it has a pond in front of it. Sometimes it doesn't.
I was going to say the pond. Yeah, wait. Oh, my goodness.
They can manipulate the backlots however they want to. But so back in the day, Universal, when they first kind of started making movies, you could pay like a nickel and go sit in the stands and watch them making movies and like laugh along, like they'd be shooting short films and like people would be like, and you could pay to go watch them make these movies. Then when sound hit, they didn't allow that anymore because they had to record audio, and if there's a crowd of people, you can't tell them to shut up. So it's like, so they stopped doing that.
This isn't a live studio audience. Like, we're not filming sitcoms here.
Yeah, and so then eventually they started doing a bus tour where they actually had people. They just kind of bus them around, show them off different things.
I feel like I've seen like media that has shown that, like movies that have referenced the Backlot tour, where it's like, oh, all these little sets and a bus going through. Like, I feel like that's a very typical like scene in a movie. So to find out that it's real, like you're telling me that's like a thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, as a matter of fact, the Backlot tour has been in many movies, and we'll get into those in a bit. So back July 15th, 1964 was the official opening of the Universal Studios Backlot tour. This is where they brought the trams out, which have been, they've been around forever, since 1964. They were called the Glamour Trams.
Glamour Trams.
Back then. I don't know why exactly they were called the Glamour Trams.
Do they have is it like that trolley vibe? Is that why, maybe?
I guess. I think they were, I want to say they were painted pink initially when they first opened.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
there's the glam.
They were literally, it was just a tractor trailer where you would it was a big vehicle in the front, and it would just tow a whole bunch of people behind you, and they would just roll around through different sets and whatnot. And so, like, these sound stages, which are still used today, like a sound stage is essentially a big building that has lighting infrastructure, sound infrastructure, where you can record movies, TV shows, whatever you want to do. We are currently in a sound stage here recording this. I mean, like, Austin Studios and here in Austin, Texas, is a bunch of old airplane hangars converted to sound stages.
Oh,
so
wow.
if you've been a long time Rooster Teeth fan, have you heard about Stage 5 or Stage 4? Those are sound stages. Okay. And so at Universal Studios, at Warner Brothers Studios, Disney Studios in Burbank, like all of these studios have sound stages that are used to, they have lighting infrastructure. They have rigs up where you can just change lights around easily. They're specifically made to make productions. Some include like a studio audience, some don't, some are just for movies, but basically you can tear out what's inside, put in whatever you want, and be able to tear it out, and they're built specifically for that. Wow. So when you hear the term soundstage, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. And so initially, the Backlot tour was just a tour through the sound stages. You would literally be on your tram, looking around, like, oh, this is stage 15. This is where Casablanca was shot or whatever. Like, over here is where they shot King Kong. And so, that was the idea. And every now and then, some of the doors would be open. You've seen so many movies where it's like, a guy's having his lunch, and then there's like, an astronaut walks by, and then a cowboy walks by, and it's like, oh, that's movies. That was basically it. Like, back in the day, like, they were churning out films. Wow. And you would see stuff like that where it's like, next door to whatever, like all of this stuff would be happening all at the same time. So being on a tram, it was exciting because you got to go see how that stuff was made. And so I've always loved movies since I was a kid. I've always been fascinated with movies. And then when I saw probably Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that was the one for
Jurassic Park back in 93, 94. That was the one that I was like, I want to do this. Like, how did they make this? And back when I was a kid, there was a lot of TV shows that was like making of, because before DVDs were a thing, and like it's like, here's a bunch of Easter eggs behind the scenes stuff. They had all that stuff on TV. Mm-hmm. So it was like, the making of Terminator 2, the making of The Abyss, the making of Jurassic Park. I just dove headlong into that stuff, and I fell in love with filmmaking. And when I went out, and I also love theme parks, and so my family, we went out to California at one point, and we went to Universal Studios, which it was a blast. Universal Studios Hollywood. And at the time, they had like the Backdraft ride, which is, or the Backdraft show, which is so cool. They had a behind the scenes of like special effects where they showed like, it was like Back to the Future, like the clock tower scene, like all of that stuff I ate up. I just love that. Like they had the sound effects show, where it's like how they do like Foley artists and stuff. Yeah. I love that stuff. But my favorite thing I went on as a kid was the Backlot tour. The Backlot tour, about a 45-minute ride. It's a long attraction. So you get on it. It's moved around. So at Universal Studios Hollywood, it's moved around from like there's two lots, the upper lot and the lower lot. It started like sometimes in the lower lot, sometimes the upper lot, kind of depending on the productions or how the facilities got moved around. Okay. But when I was a kid, I remember riding it and just falling in love with it, and then going through these backstage areas, which to some people might be the most boring parts, because those literally just buildings, and they're like, oh, and here we're shooting, NYPD Blue or whatever. And it's like, but they're all closed doors, and I'm just like freaking out, like, oh my God, this is where they make movies. This is where they make movies.
They're doing it right in there.
And I'll tell you what got me the most when I was a kid, that got me so excited, is as we were going through the backlot area, or the backstage area, there was doors open to one of the facilities, and inside I saw dinosaurs They were working on the Lost World Jurassic Park. So the sequel to Jurassic Park, or Jurassic Park: The Lost World, whatever, the second movie. And at one point, we rounded a corner and there was a guy sculpting bones, like giant bones. It was like a dead dinosaur, and it was
so cool.
And I'm like freaking out, like, oh my god.
Well,
my God.
that's their movie.
Yeah, that was it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then from that point, you go on and you actually go to the Backlot area. So they had all the old town, like the Back to the Future area, and some attraction stuff we'll get into in a bit. But like that for me was the big thing, and that's when I fell in love with it. Like I'm very passionate about theme parks and very passionate about movies, and this was like a perfect blend.
Oh yeah, it's like both at the same time.
Of the two, yeah. So that's where I'm approaching all this from. So if you hear my enthusiasm, that's why it's happening right now.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
I appreciate the primer, Jack.
Yeah. So let me read some of the stuff. So this is from Universal. This is their current description of the world famous Backlot tour. Visit 13 city blocks on 400 plus acres of historic studio lot in the largest set construction project in studio history, built with creative consultation from Steven Spielberg himself. You'll laugh along with comedian Jimmy Fallon. That's to be seen. The video host of the studio tour. The star of The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, introduces entertaining clips seen on HD monitors in the trams to augment the live studio tour guide narration. That's I'm not a huge fan of that. Anyway, you know, we've talked about it before, where it's like I don't like when it's like just let the person talk. Don't need a robot doing it. New in 2022, now you can see the original Jupiter's Claim set from Jordan Peele's latest horror epic Nope, and an exclusive behind the scenes look. Plus, Telemundo's Carmen Villalobos takes on a new leading role as the video host of our Spanish language studio tour.
Oh, nice.
The new vignettes provide entertaining insights for guests designed to complement the live narration provided by expert studio tour guides. We offer studio tours in Spanish on select days. Please check digital boards located throughout the park for tour times during your visit. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know they were doing that. They actually do like Spanish language versions of the attraction.
Heck yeah.
Super cool. Very, very cool. But yeah, so this is, the Backlot tour, essentially, you've always had a guided tour, like a host who will spiel about what's going on. And this attraction, more than any other spieling attraction, it's important to have a good host, because this one, it changes constantly.
Right.
Universal Studios is a production company. Like, they make movies and they make TV shows. So the tram tour runs no matter what, but they might get rerouted due to filming.
Like, okay, y'all can't come through here. Sorry.
Exactly.
Like, we're coming in and out, or this is secrets. We don't want nobody seeing these things.
Exactly. So you might come in on a day and be like, oh yeah, we can't go to
Sorry.
we can't go to this area of the ride, so I have to come up with a reason why not, or be able to speak about it and like make it make sense, have it like a clean narrative through the whole thing. So, and also the amount of movie knowledge and film knowledge these tour guides have is incredible, because like they have to be able to talk nonstop. Also, if something happens where they get stuck somewhere, it's like you have to keep entertaining.
Keep them entertained. Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah, like when I worked on Great Movie Ride, we had some fun facts about like the different areas. Like he's like, oh, here's some extra fun facts about Singing in the Rain, or Alien, or whatever if you needed to like banter for a bit because something got stuck or whatever. I can only imagine the book of narration that you'd have to go through. As a matter of fact, I have some friends who used to work on the Backlot tour. I wonder if maybe we can talk to them sometime.
That'd be so
and
cool.
Kind of, there's been a lot of interesting people who worked on the Backlot tour. So
they've got to have like a little notebook or something.
Oh yeah. Lots of fun stories, I'm sure. And also, so the whole idea of like a Spanish version of it too. That's really clever. I didn't know they started doing that, but that's really
I love
neat.
that accessibility there. So we need to start seeing a little bit more of that, I think.
Yeah. So it is interesting how they've slowly added more and more stuff to the attraction to kind of like help ease the tour guide. But I'm not a huge fan of like removing stuff from the tour guide. I've got some notes here. So it opened July 15th, 1964. Wow, that's so wild. That's
old. Sorry, y'all. That's pretty old.
I mean, like before Universal Studios was a theme park, it was a production facility, and to say it still is, but now there is a theme park kind of attached to it. But this was the only ride they had in the park. Like there wasn't really like, big things to go into it. Then they started slowly adding sort of like mini attractions to it. So back in 1964, one of the first big things that people were getting excited about is on the Backlot tour, they had the Psycho Mansion from Psycho.
From Psycho, yeah.
Yeah, so you would drive by it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the Psycho.
That's cool.
And so they would start doing stuff like that. It was like, let's feature certain things during the attraction.
Like set pieces,
yeah. And there was also like a whole area where you could go and and like they had like a break area, but they put up a lot of props and stuff.
Oh,
like you go
nice.
like a little plaza area, and slowly like those props have moved all over the place.
Oh yeah, I am such a fan of props and practical effects and stuff. So anything you could get, anything that is set related, prop related, just let me see it with my eyes.
Yeah, the boneyards are always the best thing.
Oh, so cool.
Okay, I've got some interesting facts here. So speaking of, Jimmy Fallon popping in now there's a video monitor where they show clips from movies and stuff. It's like, oh, here, let's give you some context to where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So in late 1989, CD players finally gave the tour guides a chance to rest their voices. So I guess they had some like audio bit they could play during things so the tour guide didn't have to talk the whole time. Because again, talking for 45 minutes to an hour nonstop for 8 to 12 hours a day, that'll wreck you at some point. In 1999, the CD players were replaced by DVD players and LCD screens, allowing tour guides to show scenes from movies filmed at locations the tram passes. So there you go. So back in 99 is when that started. In 2009, the screens were upgraded to HD.
Ooh.
Fancy. And then in 2011, Jimmy Fallon joined the tour as a video host to supplement the live action narration. Also appeared in some filming scenes, so like they would show off stuff and whatnot. But and now they've also included stuff like there is the unfortunately the Fast and Furious supercharged bit that we know and love, quote unquote, in Orlando. That started in California. So that was just one portion of the Backlot tour.
Oh, really?
It's the exact same attraction, except it's one part of a 45-minute ride, as opposed to, you go wait in line for 20 minutes in Orlando, ride the thing, and then you're off. It's like, no, this is one bit of a much larger thing. So speaking of that, there's a lot of different sections from the Backlot tour. Obviously, seeing the studios and stuff is really, really cool. I love that stuff. But there's also a lot of stuff they've added onto it to make it an actual like a ride. And also they can kind of like test out some new technologies there, kind of like a smaller capacity. Then like, okay, it worked here, let's expand on it. Like King Kong, the King, there's a thing, it's King Kong 360 3D. So you pull into this thing in the tram and you're surrounded by screens and King Kong like shakes the tram and whatnot. They took that and made Kong Skull Island in Orlando. So like they kind of took it and expanded on it. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool, But then you also have the flip of that, like, supercharged and just copy and paste it. But that's a lot of things. So right now on the Backlot tour, you still have the Bates Mansion is still there.
Okay,
so
cool.
the Psycho House is still there. Now they've actually included an actor as well who looks a lot like Norman Bates. And he has like a knife that he's hiding from him. It's like, oh, it's kind of spooky. The flash flood scene, which has been there since 1968, is still there. So there's the scene where you pull up in the tram and you're like, oh, this is, dressed like an old Western town or whatever. And all of a sudden, like these gates drop and a flash flood hits and just covers the whole town in water and like trees fall over and stuff. That's been there since 1968.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's been very, very cool. Jaws popped up in 1976. So there's a little lake area, little like Amity Village area, and Jaws pops up. That's a classic thing you've seen in a whole bunch of stuff where he pops up next to the car and like water sprays everywhere. In 1989, Earthquake showed up.
Earthquake! I
love Earthquake. This became, it was called Earthquake in Orlando as well, and then it became Disaster. But yeah, it's basically you're meant to be in a subway tunnel in San Francisco. So the tram, as it's driving around, pulls into a building, and all of a sudden it feels like you're in a subway tunnel in San Francisco, and they call it a hot set. It's like, oh, it's a hot set. I mean, anything could happen. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like the tram starts rocking around. It's like, oh no, we're in California. Earthquakes happen. Scary. And then, but then like the floor, like the ceiling opens up and there's a truck on the upper level. And it slides down and explodes. A subway car comes like careening in and almost hits you and stuff. And then water floods the whole thing. Really, really cool. Very, very neat thing. That opened up in 1989 and then eventually, moved over to Orlando as well. And that's such a cool portion of the attraction. It's still there now. In 1996, I have Jurassic Park. So what happened? What was with Jurassic? Oh, yeah. So with Jurassic Park, they added some Dilophosaurs in one area where they would pop up and spray water at you and stuff. It's like, oh, that's kind of cute. King Kong 3D, 360 3D came in 2010. That was because the original King Kong burnt to the ground, unfortunately. We'll talk about that in a second. Fast and the Furious Supercharged is still there right now. That opened up in 2015. That includes scenes with Vin Diesel and The Rock also blended in. It's a whole dumb thing. And then Jupiter's Claim opened up last year in 2022.
Jupiter's Claim.
Which is really neat. So you actually go through Jupiter's Claim.
I would love to.
You hear the noises of Jean Jacket and stuff. It's really, really freaky. So, but yeah, so there's different things that go through. There's also like a bridge that used to cross over, like the crumbling bridge, which you would be on it and would fall and like, and so that's there every now and then. But as far as some bigger stuff that they've actually taken out, they had King Kong Encounter, which opened on June 14th, 1986. So this was... it was a very, very cool attraction. It was, at the time, it was the largest animatronic ever made. So you pulled into this building and, it got very quickly, you realize like, oh, you're on a set, and it was made to look like New York City. And it's like, oh, we're on a big bridge. The tram would then turn and you're on this big, this suspended bridge, and King Kong was in front of you holding onto the bridge, shaking it back and forth and screaming. And then he had like banana breath and stuff. And so, he would be shaking onto it and stuff. And it was just really freaky. Like the tram would start rocking and whatnot, and then eventually you would get away. You would like slowly roll away from it. If you've ever seen like old classic Universal logos where it has like Universal, but like you can kind of see through the letters, and you see King Kong screaming, that's that King Kong.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So this is 1986. Again, unfortunately, June 1st, 2008, there was a fire in the Backlot area of Universal, and King Kong got burnt to the ground, which is super, super sad. Also, a lot of like apparently there was like a storage area. They lost a lot of stuff, a lot of old films. Very, very sad for that to happen. And so King Kong got burnt to the ground. Instead of rebuilding it, they built King Kong 360, which is a thing where you pull in and you're surrounded by screens, and it makes it feel like you're actually there. Like you kind of look everywhere and there's always stuff going on. And again, that has been recreated with Kong Skull Island down in Orlando. Let's see here. What else? The Avalanche Tunnel. It's no longer there. Initially it was called Avalanche Tunnel. Eventually became Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. It was also a Dante's Peak thing for a while.
Okay.
This, as a kid, freaked me out.
Yeah?
So I'll have to show you a video of this at some point. But basically, the tram would say like, oh, we're going into this thing. We're going into a tunnel, but oh, something's going wrong. The lights kick on, and you're in this tunnel that it's a big circular tunnel with a tram line in the middle of it, and it's spinning around the outside.
Okay.
So have you ever been in a fun house where they have like the walls are spinning around you, but you're walking and you just feel like you're tilting?
You're tilting, yeah.
That was this, but it was on a tram.
Oh, that's terrifying, yeah.
Like I remember as a kid almost falling out of the vehicle because just like it just messes with your head. It's like everything around you moving. And so from what I understand, the drivers, they would literally look straight down because they had like a path, and they would just follow the path, because if they looked up, it would start messing with their perception.
Right.
So they literally would have to like focus just on the floor to not like drive off. It's wild. And so super, super simple, but man, it was really intense as a kid. This is kind of cool. So I didn't get to experience this, or maybe I did, but I don't remember it. It's the Battle of Galactica. So the
Galactica?
Yeah, like Battlestar Galactica. So this ran from 1979 to 1992. This high technology attraction featuring animatronics and live actors and a spectacular laser battle based on the television series Battlestar Galactica with a 200-foot long spaceship that swallowed the passengers opened June 9th, 1979. This was the first theme attraction to feature audio animatronic characters outside of Disney parks. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. And was the first dark ride to combine sophisticated animatronics with lasers and live actors. At a cost of $1 million, it was the most expensive special effects attraction ever built at the park at the time. It was replaced in 1992 by the foundations of Back to the Future, the ride. So this was on the upper lot area. That's cool. So I don't remember this, but there's a very good chance I rode this, or I went through it at least. So you would go in and it was literally like robots and stuff, but then like a guy would pop out with like a laser gun that had like laser stuff on it. You'd shoot it, and like some of the robots would like split in half and stuff. It was kind of cool. And so I watched some video of that, and it was really, really neat. But yeah, it's no longer there. But also the idea that it was the first time they used audio animatronics outside of Disney.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I didn't know that at all.
I mean, this is 1979, so this is at that point Disneyland and Disney World were both open. So like animatronics have been around for a while. But yeah, I mean, you got to figure 1955 is when Disneyland opened. And so, I mean, there were animatronics at Pirates and Jungle Cruise. So it took a while for anyone else to kind of start using these things, I guess. But that's neat, and that is no longer there. One thing too I wanted to point out is, like this thing, the attraction it has popped up in a lot of movies and TV shows and whatnot. Apparently Knight Rider, there was a whole thing where he rode the Backlot tour. But one of my favorite movies ever of all time as a kid growing up was The Wizard with Fred Savage and Jenny Lewis. And anyway, it's a movie about a kid who plays video games.
Okay.
And he wants to go to Video Armageddon, which is a big video game competition in California at Universal Studios. And they end up playing Super Mario Brothers 3, which is awesome. But anyway,
This movie sounds unreal.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the more
also-
you keep describing it, I'm like, you're making it up.
Oh, no, it gets better. It
gets better.
Also, so Fred Savage and Jenny Lewis are getting chased by a bounty hunter. And so the bounty hunter is chasing them through the theme park, and they start running through the backlot area, including there was a portion where they ran through King Kong. So like they're running underneath King Kong. And I want to say there's they go through the earthquake scene, which also has stuff from the Battlestar Galactica bit in it. There were like aliens in there too.
Okay.
So it was kind of a weird blend of the two.
All right.
I used to write about movies for a movie website, and I actually got to interview the director of The Wizard.
The Wizard. Okay, cool.
Super nice guy. And he was telling me too, like one of the fun things is so on the Backlot tour, eventually like this guy's chasing down the kids, right? And he's like just like tearing through it. And everyone's like, oh, it's just part of the ride. And then so he said one of the things they had to cut was there was a kid on the ride. They had him scream, I want to go to Disney World or Disneyland, something like that. And they had to cut it from the movie. They're like, yeah, we can't do that.
No, that's on the nose. That's really funny.
Anyway, so if you want to see a cool little backstage look at Universal Studios back in the early 90s, you can go check out The Wizard. I love that movie. It's so
Adding
good.
it to my list.
Also, Christian Slater's in it too, and one of the
This movie's not real.
I want to say Bo Bridges, one of the Bridges brothers, is in it.
I don't believe you now. The more you describe it, the more I'm like, this movie is not real.
You gotta get Jimmy to California to go play the video games. Anyway. It's awesome. I love that movie.
I can't wait. I'm going to check it out.
I have a poster for it in my house right now.
Okay, now I have to watch it.
It's signed by Fred Savage. And,
signed?
Yeah,
okay, listen, I'm going to watch it this weekend.
Okay. I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
I will find it. Don't worry.
So again, we're not going to do like a ride through portion of this thing because this thing is so massive and there's so many different things of it.
And it sounds like it changes so often too. It'd be hard to really like do a ride. It
fluctuates and changes a lot. Like I remember the last time I went to Universal Hollywood, I actually rode the Backlot tour. And one cool thing was at the time there was a show called I Feel Bad being produced there.
Okay.
And friend of Achievement Hunter James Buckley, who was also in the In-Betweeners and a bunch of other stuff, he was on that show. It was cool. He actually, if you watch the show, it's on the Hulu right now. It's only ran for about one season. He wears a bunch of Achievement Hunter shirts in the show.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Because we actually he worked with the wardrobe department and then got them to be like we signed off on him using Achievement Hunter stuff. So he wears almost exclusively Achievement Hunter.
Oh, that's
t-shirts
so funny! I can't wait to go back. What an Easter egg!
And so, but it was like on NBC or something like that. But anyway, they were filming that there, and so like I was texting him, like, dude, like, are you working today? He's like, I'm not there today, but it's like I wanted to go check out the studio.
Yeah.
So I got to go around through that, but it's fun because again, this thing changes constantly. Like they added a whole War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, the big 747 crash. They have that there where you need to go through it. Again, when they filmed The Lost World Jurassic Park, they had a big scene from that kind of lived there forever. Whoville from The Grinch Stole Christmas was there. As a matter of fact, Jim Carrey's a big fan of the Backlot tour. A lot of actors love the Backlot tour. Like a lot of people kind of like enjoy playing up to crowds, and like this is a rolling band of tourists. So if you're filming something, you just go yell at the tourists or whatever. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they were filming something. I think like Man on the Moon or some movie that Jim Carrey was in, and they were on the Backlot. And during a downtime for one of the scenes, Jim Carrey ran over to the Bates Hotel. Or the Bates Mansion, and found like a jacket or something and went and hid behind the Bates Hotel. And then when the tram pulled by, he ran out acting like Norman Bates and apparently jumped on the ride vehicle and was like yelling at people and stuff. Like, what are you doing? Like, mother's going to be so mad. Freaked everyone out.
Oh, totally.
And also freaked out the host as well. They're like, what is going on? Until they realized, like, oh, that's Jim Carrey. What? I mean, this is the 90s when Jim Carrey's like the hotness.
Yeah.
And so supposedly because of that, they've now added a live actor to the Bates Mansion area.
Okay.
And so that's the one he has the knife and stuff. Apparently that became part of the thing with
So it's
with
like
Jim
a
Carrey.
bit now.
Yeah. And supposedly when Jim Carrey was out there filming How the Grinch Stole Christmas, he wanted to do that again, but in full Grinch outfit.
He should have.
And apparently they wouldn't let him because at the time they hadn't released images of him as the Grinch.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
no,
they don't
Jim,
like the
can't
image with Jim as the Grinch with a knife. I think that might be a little too much.
But just think about like being on a Backlot tour and suddenly you look up and it's like, oh, the Grinch who is Jim Carrey is jumping on our ride vehicle.
I would have been so hyped. I'm sorry.
So cool.
I love anything where you can like get actors just being able to be themselves and kind of go off and have fun. That's the cool part for me. I would have loved to have been there for that.
That would have been so cool to see that. But so some fun facts. Again, the Backlot tour has been around since the 60s. I mean, really even before that. A lot of famous people have worked on the Backlot tour. So Randy Pitchford, who you might know as he is the director of Gearbox,
Okay.
who does Borderlands.
Yeah.
He worked there.
Wow.
Conan O'Brien was a host for a bit.
Okay.
Ron Howard, who was Opie in Griffith's show, and also, is the director, Ron Howard, whose daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard is in Jurassic Park. He was a tour guide at one point too, which was wild because he would have had to have done the Andy Griffith show where he was a kid, then gone on to do a Backlot tour thing, and then gone on to do American Graffiti and a bunch of other stuff, which is wild. Jimmy Fallon apparently also was a tour host for a while.
Maybe that's why they picked him.
I guess so.
I'm trying to figure this part out.
So apparently Josh Gad, I don't know if you heard about this, but Josh Gad, he just got a Disney Legends Award during D23. So they give D23, or they give Disney Legends Awards to people involved with Disney. A lot of times it'd be old Imagineers or people who have worked at the company forever. This past year they gave Disney Legends Awards to the entire cast of Frozen. So Idina Menzel, Kristen Bell, Jonathan Groff, and Josh Gad all got it as well. And Josh Gad, during his acceptance, he was very excited because when he was a kid, he applied to be a Jungle Cruise host and they turned him down. So he basically was told, no, you can't be a Jungle Cruise host. And he's like, now what? Now I'm coming back. I've got my so
you better let me be a host, please. Something.
So I'm willing to bet at some point Josh Gad will get to host the Jungle Cruise. So
oh, that would be really cool.
Pretty wild. So also Whoopi Goldberg apparently was a host there, and Paul Feig, he was the director of Bridesmaids. He also did the Ghostbusters remake with Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. He also was that too, and there's a whole slew of other people that have done it as well. So it's kind of a who's who kind of situation. Universal's pretty good about that. Even the we talked with Scott Porter, who was on Friday Night Lights, which actually shot here probably in this building, which is weird. But Scott Porter, he worked on the Beetlejuice Graveyard Review, and also Wayne Brady was there too.
No way.
Apparently Joey Fatone was there as well. It's interesting how these names, they start at theme parks and go on. So
I don't know. Maybe it's just because they know so much, or they understand the terminology, so a script would be really easy. Plus the showmanship. I'm trying to understand the connection.
Well, it's also I think things like this attract people who are into this stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And so it makes sense to be like, oh yeah, I'm into movies. I want to surround myself with movies, even if that means I have to go host the tram tour just to be around movies.
You're in the industry. I feel like that is a good starting point, or at least a fun way to do something in between that isn't too demanding. I can imagine all right, between stuff, let me do my side gig at the Backlot tour. Don't worry, you can catch me on Wednesdays.
Yeah. But honestly, it gives you a chance to practice performance as well,
right?
And hitting notes and having a lot of stuff in your head
Public
and being
speaking,
able to. Yeah. And so it's a good thing. It makes sense that a lot of famous people have done that. So as far as new news, April 2022, so last April, they swapped out a few of the tram vehicles with electric vehicles, which is kind of cool.
Oh.
So apparently they are hoping to swap out all of the vehicles they have there now with electric vehicles by 2025. Apparently there are 21 trams total.
Oh.
And so they're trying to swap them all out. There's three
going green.
Yeah. Also makes sense because, that's if you're on a big vehicle and it's just coughing up exhaust, the front few rows are going to be breathing that the whole time. So makes sense. It's also quieter too. So.
Right. I was about to say it's probably a little quieter for the sets. They might be a little grateful for that change.
Yeah. So I'm curious if you can easily spot which ones are the electric ones and which ones aren't.
Ooh.
So anyway, that just happened recently. I also want to give a shout out to Yesterworld. So Yesterworld is a YouTube channel. They did a fantastic video on the Backlot tour. If you want to learn more about the history of it, if you want to see video of it, he is dug deep into finding stuff that existed and didn't exist, and really dives into some of the different parts of the attraction that have come and gone over the years. So give that a check out. It's so good. So Yesterworld's video on that is awesome. There's also a lot of really great history videos on it too. So youtube.com/whatever Yesterworld. He's got lots of good stuff. So anyway, that's sort of our look at the Backlot tour. I'm very excited to take you on this sometime.
I would love to go. Honestly, I'm so excited.
It's also a great attraction too because it lasts so long. After walking around a park for a long time, it's let's just go sit down for 45 minutes and just kind of enjoy this, it's
like the Better People mover, and I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Well, it's nice too because there's so much stuff packed into it.
Right.
It's the Backlot tour, but then you have the supercharged bit, you have the earthquake bit, you have King Kong. It's a lot of attractions all kind of in one.
It's like mini rides, but then also chill and vibe and learn.
And then maybe you roll around a set and it's oh, there's someone filming that I recognize,
Maybe.
So there's always stuff going on there. They're always filming stuff. And also, I just love seeing the courthouse from Back to the Future.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a lot of words I probably shouldn't say on the podcast if I go on that.
It's pretty neat. And like just seeing, like, it's funny because once you see it and you start recognizing it in other shows where it's like,
oh yeah,
that's it, but dressed up. It's like sometimes it has the 4 columns like in Back to the Future, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the clock's there, sometimes it's not. Like they change it up all the time. So anyway, you can always see it with your own eyes. So that's a lot of fun. But that's going to do it for our look at the world famous Backlot tour at Universal Studios. I want to get out there and check it out now. I'm very excited to see what it looks like now because it's been a few years, so it's always changing. So it's kind of cool to get back and go out and really just go out to Hollywood's fun too. So it's a neat place. It's a cool park, and we'll take you there someday.
Please take me.
Maybe,
Papa Jack, I just want to go.
Maybe we'll poke our feet into Super Nintendo World as well while we're out there because that just opened up. So anyway, I have a question for you now. So what we do is every single week we ask a question of you, the audience, and then you go to roosterteeth.com, answer that question, and then during our live streams, which we have one mid-February coming up, maybe today, depending on when this episode comes out, February 15th is the live stream for February. It'll be mid-March for the next one. So my question for you is, what movie would you hope to see being filmed while on the Backlot tour? What would be your dream movie? If you were on the Backlot tour, let's say this existed anytime, you know, like for me, seeing The Lost World being filmed was amazing. It was so cool because I knew, like at that point I knew Jurassic Park. Like even if it was like Jurassic Park, I might not know what that is. Like, oh, dinosaurs, okay. But knowing they were making that was so cool. Like Back to the Future Part 2 would be so cool to see being filmed,
That'd
something
be
like
awesome.
that. So what would be your movie you wish you could have seen being filmed in the Backlot while on the tour? Answer over roosterteeth.com. We'll go through, pull some of the answers down and read them out during our live stream. And BK, do you have any idea? Like what movie would you like to see being filmed while from the comfy of your own glamour tram?
Oh man, there'd be like two, like Alien. I would pay top dollar for Alien, or like Close Encounters.
Oh, that'd be cool. I wonder if they shot that. I wonder if they used the Backlot for that.
I don't know. Some of those end scenes are giving those vibes that it was in the middle of nowhere.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, Alien was a Fox production, so I don't know if that. I'm trying to think like.
But Spielberg, he's Close Encounters, so maybe E.T.
E.T. would be pretty cool.
I would top dollar just to be there, right there. Yeah, sign me up.
You don't think that would take away? Like, you can see like the puppet and everything for E.T.?
No, I want to.
Yeah?
I want to see it all. The BTS, that would be amazing.
So cool. I just love the filmmaking in general. Like it's so cool. Like it's the magic of making movies is still not lost on me now. And like I'm very lucky to be in a facility, a production company where we've gotten to do that. And like even like doing stuff for YouTube, making the shorts and just all this stuff is just. It's so fun to get something where it's like it goes from a script to filming to cut together to release. It's such a neat thing.
It's like livable art. I think that's probably why we like theme parks so much.
Probably.
It is still kind of living and experiencing art. So it's such an awesome medium. I love movies and theme parks.
Absolutely. So that's why I love having you on the show.
Thank you.
You fit in perfectly well.
Yay.
So, but yeah, again, let us know over roosterteeth.com. But that'll pretty much do it for us today. Thank you again, everyone who supports this show. Follow us on social media. We are annual_pass on Twitter and on Instagram. We are at youtube.com/annualpass. And we are TikTok. No, we're not. We are Annual Pass Pod over on TikTok as well. Make sure to check out all of our reels and shorts and TikToks, all that stuff, and share those around like crazy. And feel free to leave reviews for the podcast as well, because that always helps us. Store.roosterteeth.com. Go pick up some merchandise as well, because that does definitely help us for sure. And that'll do it for us this week. BK, you feel like you learned anything?
Yeah, I learned tons. I had no idea about the Backlot tour, so I was so excited to listen to you geek out.
Before we go, one last story. So the last time I went on the Backlot tour, I was there with a couple friends, my friends Sean and Kristen. And Sean and I have been buddies for a long time. I just recently met Kristen, and now we're really good friends. But this is like 5 years ago. We were in line for the Backlot tour. So it was Katie and me and Sean and Kristen. We're in line waiting for the Backlot tour, and these girls kind of like right in front of us, they turned around and they were like, Are you Jack from Achievement Hunter?
No way.
And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then, but Kristen missed that part. And so they're like, oh, can we get a photo? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And then I went to go get a photo, and Kristen was confused. And then I took a photo with them, and she assumed they wanted me to take a photo for them.
Right.
And she's like, why is Jack getting in that picture with them? Like, what?
That's really funny.
Why would they do that? And because she didn't know that I was with Rooster Teeth or anything like that.
That you're famous.
Yeah. She was just like, who? what? And so anyway, that was pretty funny. So she was very confused. Anyway, love you, Kristen. So, but that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you so much, everyone. We love you guys. Let us know if you had any cool experiences on the Backlot tour, some of your favorite things as well over at roosterteeth.com in the comments. We love hearing that. I love reading the comments over at YouTube as well. Anywhere you want to post about, this stuff. I love reading it. I love getting involved.
Me too.
So, cool. All right. Well, that'll do it. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.